all you beautiful people. I'm back and I'm on the couch again today. Um, Still having kind of rough pain day, but it's not. Some of it I think is the weather, but the vast majority of it is because I decided to be the graceful, wonderful person I am and fall down some stairs yesterday on my way outside to go check on the animals. So I don't know if you can see here, all this bruising starting. I went to go brace myself and like fell down the stairs with my arm too, so my butt hurts, my back hurts. I'm just a mess. It has been a week or weeks or month. It's just been a year. It's been a year for everybody, let's be honest. Um, and I know that there are a lot of people who might be looking into trying to get into homesteading, but they're kind of confused about how to start. So I want to talk today some about how I got started, how I started learning about homesteading, how I started preparing to homestead, and how I started learning homesteading skills while I still lived in the city. You don't need acreage to start learning some of the skills necessary for homesteading. Um, right now, we only have a half acre, which is like not even big enough to be considered anywhere near a farm. Um, we do hope to get more acreage someday, but right now we have a half acre. We're working with what we got. If you have a quarter acre, you can do some of the stuff I'm doing too. If you only have an apartment balcony, you can still do some homesteading, and I'm going to tell you how. So, one of the first things I started doing when I was learning about homesteading was, and I actually started preparing for this like 10 years ago. Actually, maybe even more than that. Um, yeah, it's probably almost like 15 years ago. And part of the reason why I started looking into, I wasn't looking specifically for homesteading things back then. I was looking for ways to save money. Um, at the time, we were a single income family. Um, I was still with my ex at that time, and I was trying to figure out ways that I could save money and use our budget better. So I started looking into things like making my own homemade laundry detergent, um, baking bread, um, doing things like that, like making things from scratch. I didn't really get into the practice of those things until much later. The idea was there, the will was there, but there was just a lot of conflicts going on in my life at the time, and it just wasn't feasible. So I completely understand that it might not be totally feasible for you to do some of these things. I do have a video about how I make my homemade laundry detergent. It's super cheap. It cost me like $20 to make a big batch. And that lasts me like 6 months, easy. And we have a big family. So if it's only a couple people that you're doing laundry for, $20 might be enough for you to make laundry detergent for the whole year. So I'm going to link that video down in the description for you if you want to go check it out. It's something that you can do in the city. You can throw these few ingredients together, make this laundry detergent, and it's a way to save some money. It's a way to be more efficient. It is slightly better for the environment, especially if you leave out a couple of the ingredients. There's some conflicts about whether or not borax is really environmentally friendly, which is part of the reason why I do use a little bit of borax, but the recipe that I used to make called for the whole box of borax, and now I use like anywhere between a third and a half of the box of borax. For me, it makes a difference in how clean my clothes come out, so I do still like to use a little bit of it, but because there is some questions about whether or not it's very environmentally safe, I've omitted it mostly from my recipe. But there are tons of things that you can learn how to make and get into. Canning is something you can do literally anywhere. Go to the farmer's market, go to the grocery store. If they have a sale on something and it looks like a good deal, buy a bunch of it. Tomatoes are always a good thing to start canning with. You can water bath tomatoes, which is where you're not putting it in a pressure cooker and it's not having to be pressurized. Tomatoes are always great to start practicing with. Another thing that's really awesome to start practicing with, make your own pickles, make your homemade pickles. There's recipes on the internet. It's super easy to look it up. These are skills that you're going to need when you get to a stage where you can do full-time homesteading. You're going to need to know food preservation. Buy a dehydrator. That's something else we did. We found a cheap dehydrator on clearance for 20 bucks. And we picked it up, and so we started dehydrating things. And I would recommend one of the first things you dehydrate would be the little mini marshmallows. They'll be a huge hit. But there are skills that you can learn before you ever get to the point where you're even gardening, okay? If you do have the space to garden, if you even just have a patio or a balcony, get some pots and you can grow tomatoes in a pot, you can grow herbs, and there are all sorts of different things that are container friendly. One of the things that I did to try to find seeds and find more information about seeds, because there was not a lot of information on the packets, you can Google it too. Or you can also, if you're interested in trying to grow something unusual, you can get seed catalogs. This is from Seed Savers Exchange. This is this year's free Baker's Creek seed catalog. They send this catalog out every year for free. All you have to do is sign up for their email list, their mailing list. I'm sorry. I bought the whole seed catalog from Baker Creek this year. I wanted to have this available to me. Their catalog does change from year to year, so if you have an older catalog, that would be okay too, but you might not, some of the stuff might not be available. A good way to check is to look online, because everything that's available will be available online on their website. And that's rareseeds.com, I think, is for them. I'm not entirely sure with Seed Savers. Another good website to look at for seeds is MI Gardener. These are all heirloom seeds, which means there's varieties that you're not going to find in the grocery store. One of the things that just blows my mind about these catalogs is, I'm going to see if I can show you all the different varieties of tomatoes they have in here. It's insane. I never knew that there were this many variety of tomatoes. And the thing is that I'm sure that this is not all of it. But this part, all of these pages in here are all the different varieties of tomatoes. I mean, they're gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. All these different colors. Some of these are sweeter than others. Some are more acidic. Some are good for fresh eating. Some are better for canning. And it usually will tell you in the descriptions what seeds are best for which, and if a seed will stand up to container gardening. So get a seed catalog, or just hop online and do some research and look into what you want to grow. I'm trying to see if I can find these specific tomatoes to show you real quick here. They're like tie-dye tomatoes, guys. Tie-dyed. I'm pretty excited about that. Look at that. Look at how gorgeous they are. Just all the different varieties. And that's just the tomatoes. So, like I said, this catalog, I did have to pay $10, I think, for this catalog. These I got for free. You sign up for their mailing lists, and they come to your door. So there's no cost associated with that. I know for me, keeping down costs as a first-time homesteader has been something that's been very important. So YouTube's a great resource. Obviously, here we are. Look up homesteaders on YouTube. Learn from them. Glean from them. It's awesome. Another thing I like to do is to go to thrift stores. I can't afford to buy 20 different homesteading books that are $20 a piece. So what I like to do is I like to go to my local thrift stores and look for things like this. Something where it's going to show me, okay, this is for pest-free properties, but it's all natural stuff. So most of the stuff in here is probably going to be pretty free or cheap. That will be helpful when I start my garden, or if I encounter any pests in the chicken coop or anything like that. Then I also pick up like gardening books. Like, yes, obviously the internet is a thing, but I am a firm believer in having references on hand. There's something to be said about the availability of just being able to pick up a book and look at it and see what you can find. This is not exactly like 100% homesteading, but it's all this stuff in here is it's homemade products that you would normally buy in the store. They've got like ranch dressing dip. They have, you can make bayberry wax for candles and soap. You can make a homemade wallpaper paper, and it's, spoiler alert, guys, it is fabric softener, water, and then just good old elbow grease to take it off. Fabric softener to take off a wallpaper. Who would have thought? I wouldn't have. So, this has everything from food. It's got a ketchup recipe in here. Never made ketchup before. Guess what I'm going to be trying to make now? I'm going to make some homemade ketchup. This is a great way to start getting some knowledge and getting some ideas. I mean, it's not homestead related, but it is in a way, because it's going to do things, it's going to teach you how to do things where you're making things from scratch and you're saving money. And the thing I think is really neat about this particular book is that it actually breaks down in here, like, what the store would cost, what it would cost for you to make it, and what percentage of savings that is for you. And some of these things are like 86%. If you make a Starbucks Frappuccino at home, which they have the recipe in here for copycat Starbucks with Frappuccino, you can save 82%. Or 86%, I'm sorry. It'll only cost you 82 cents to make it at home. Now, I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I'm guessing it would cost you less than $1. That savings is monumental. 82% on savings on a homemade moisturizer. You gotta keep your skin looking young and fresh and beautiful. You can do it for so much cheaper than you can do in the store. I have another video that I did where I made a homemade antibiotic ointment. And it was pretty simple stuff. I mean, some of the ingredients were a little more on the spendy side than the things that I usually like to get, but I got things like beeswax pellets to go in there. And that is something that's a little bit more pricey. And I don't have bees yet, so I can't create my own beeswax. But I was able to make this jar. I made like a little jar of antibacterial ointment. I made it a year ago almost, and I still have about a half a jar. It has not gone bad. It still works. I use it on my kids. I use it on myself. I use it on my pets. I even use it as like a hand moisturizer. Like, I'll put it on my hands sometimes when my hands are really dry and cracked, and then I'll put gloves on and just sit there for a while and let it soak in. It works wonderfully. Absolutely wonderfully. So these are just some of the ways that you can start getting into planning for your homestead. And that you can do it affordably. Another thing that I have here is just a little book, a notebook. It doesn't have to be a fancy one like this. I just saw this. It was on clearance somewhere. I thought it was cute, so I bought it. And in here, I've got everything from, different lists of things that I'm planning, different steps. But then I went ahead and made little sketches for what I would like my garden to look like. I have a little sketch in here for, I want to try to build the greenhouse. Getting your ideas on paper will help. I mean, especially I have ADHD, and if I don't put my ideas on paper, they just ping pong in here, and it's not helpful for me at all. So writing down things, even if you have no idea how, if you're looking for a house, if you're looking for a homestead and you don't know how much land you're gonna have, just start somewhere. Sit down, write out what you want, draw little doodles, draw little sketches. Lists are awesome, but you really don't need to wait. One of the homesteaders that I watch on YouTube, who I just absolutely adore, is Jess from Roots and Refuge, and she has always said, make your waiting room your classroom. So while you're waiting to get to the point where you have your homestead, start learning the skills then, because it's going to make it a lot less stressful. You're not going to have to learn how to can when you've got 10 pounds of tomatoes that have come off your plants and you're freaking out because you've never canned before. Having the preparation in advance, learning how to do these things before you get to the point where you need to do them, is a really good idea. It's a very valuable thing to do, learning these skills, even if you never homestead, even if you never have goats, you never have chickens, you never have a huge garden. It's still really valuable to learn some of these skills. So that's kind of how I started. And you know, I learned about the chickens before I got chickens. I joined, like I talked about in my last video, I joined a bunch of Facebook groups, and just really trying to utilize whatever resource you can get your hands on. If you know a homesteader, you know somebody who's got a beautiful garden, you know somebody who's got a flock of chickens, go hang out with them, spend some time with them, ask them about, you know, the kind of things that they've learned, the experiences that they've had, and the things that they would recommend that you look into. And like I said, you don't necessarily, even if it's not somebody face to face, even if it's somebody who you meet on the internet and they know more about something than you do. I've messaged a few people now, and we've gone on tours to a couple different local farms here, kind of scouting out who we wanted to buy goats from, honestly. And we found somebody who we think is going to be a really good choice to buy some goats from. But go on a field trip. Like, they didn't just take us on field trips when we were in school for fun. Like, they took us on field trips because it's a good way to learn. It's especially if you're hands-on like I am. I'm is a kinetic learner. Is that what it is, where you learn with hands-on? I don't know. But that's how I learn best, is by someone else showing me how to do it and me doing it along with them, or having their instruction while I do it. That's how things stick in my brain the best. So, you know, if your learning style is best with reading, you're definitely going to want to hit up those thrift stores and start reading some books. If your learning style is best, you know, just watching somebody, YouTube is probably a great resource for you. There's an endless list of homesteading type skills that you can learn. But I will say this, it all gets summed up to doing things from scratch, doing things for yourself, being more self-sustaining. You know, maybe you give up that $6 coffee drink at, I'm going to say Dutch Bros, because I'm sorry, they're way better than Starbucks in my opinion. Sorry, Starbucks. No, I'm not. But you maybe give up that $6 coffee drink that you get on the way to work, and you start figuring out how to make your own. And then take that money you're saving and set it aside for your homestead. Buy some seeds with it. Buy, you know, buy yourself a chicken coop and go get some chickens. And then you'll have farm fresh eggs when they start laying. It really comes down to simplifying things. And I know that it doesn't seem simplified because you're having to do more work. Like, you have to put in the extra effort. You have to make the bread. You have to get up and do these things. But when you think about it, if you're not making the bread, who is? It's being made in a factory by machines somewhere, and then it's being trucked, maybe even across the country, to you. What you are simplifying is your food chain. You are simplifying where your items come from. And I really feel like being closer to our food and knowing where it comes from is important. So another way that you can start homesteading is shop local. Check out farmers markets. Check out your local butcher. You know, make friends with these people. you know, you don't have to have them over for coffee or cards or whatever, but like just chat with them, talk to them, ask them questions, pick their brain, and you'll be surprised how much information they're willing to share. Um, I think the one thing that I've noticed about people who are interested in homesteading and part of the homesteading community is that they are more than happy to share their knowledge, because they want other people to be knowledgeable too, and they want other people to be able to sustain themselves as well. And that's one thing I really love about the homesteading community, is just this lifting up of everybody. You know, like, yeah, you go in the homesteading groups and sometimes you do get somebody who's snarky or crabby or whatever with their comments, but most people are going to be so helpful, and they're going to tell you everything. There is no question that you can't ask. And I'm really excited to share the information that I'm learning. I still have so much to learn. I mean a ton. I have a ton to learn. But just being able to share the little bit of knowledge that I have, and how to obtain more knowledge, how to further that, it's exciting for me. So I'm assuming it's exciting for other homesteaders as well, you know, that they see other people doing these things, they get excited too. But I don't know. I hope this helps you. If you are interested in homesteading and you do want to start somewhere, I really hope that this helps you be able to start somewhere, to start where you are. You know, like Jess says, make your waiting room a classroom. Go get some books. Get on the internet. Do your research. You're watching YouTube right now, so apparently you must have some interest. And then just start small. And you know what? You're going to mess up. It's going to happen. It's part of the learning process. Failure is one of our best teachers. I cannot tell you how many times I made loaves of bread that wound up becoming not really great before I got to a point where I started being able to make a decent loaf of bread. And even not every now and then, even though I've been making bread, I still get crappy loaves. So don't get discouraged. Don't feel like you can't start now because you don't have the homestead. Start learning the skills. Start teaching yourself how to be sustainable where you are, and then the rest will come. And I'm so very excited for when it does for you, because you know, I'm in a place where, yeah, I've only got a half acre, but I have a half an acre, and you can actually do a lot with a half acre. You can do a lot with a tiny little square of a yard. You can put in a garden bed and grow some tomatoes and zucchini and cucumber or whatever you want to grow, and start to feel it's an amazing sense of pride that's associated with when you get that first harvest, when you pick that first tomato. Like I said in my video yesterday, that first egg that we get from those freeloading chickens is going to be a cause for celebration, because we've put a lot of work into it. And that feels good. There's a sense of pride and accomplishment that comes with it. And I'm really excited for you guys to feel that feeling, because it's really a neat thing. So I hope you guys all have a great day. I hope that this helps people who are like, okay, I want to start homesteading, but where do I start? Start where you are. Start reading, start researching. You're on the right track. You're watching this video. You're making the right steps. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other in the direction you want to go, and you're going to make it there. I hope you all have a great day. It was great spending time with you. See you later. Bye.